Welcome to Blackbird episode number 44. My name is James, and today I am happy to bring to you an interview with Josh Smith. Josh is, of course, the host of the Break the Cycle podcast. He is a member at large of the Libertarian National Committee. He's the father of about 10,000 kids, and he's kind of the ringleader of a bunch of shit posters on Twitter. So I wanted to talk to him about all of that and more. Before we get into it with Josh, let me tell you once again about Liberty Classroom. Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom is your one-stop shop for the economics, history, and even fiction, logic, philosophy that they didn't teach you in school. If you're interested in learning both the basics and some more advanced topics in Austrian economics, deep dives into various areas of history like Western culture, the Civil War, the American Revolution, and even the history of science fiction and how it relates to libertarianism, check out Liberty Classroom. You can get there by going to blackbirdpodcast.com/classroom. Of course, when you use my link, I get a little bit of a kickback on Tom's end of the sale. It doesn't cost you anything extra. I have been a member of Liberty Classroom for so many years that renewing every year stopped feeling worth it. So I finally sprung for the lifetime membership where I won't have to worry about renewing anymore. I recommend that you go with at least the Basic Plus membership because those monthly live sessions are where it's at. You get to have conversations via chat with some of the greatest scholars in libertarianism, including Austrian economists like Bob Murphy, historians like Brad Berzer and Brian McClanahan. And I'll tell you what, one time, one of my questions about Austrian business cycle theory inspired an entire episode of The Tom Woods Show. So you might go down in history as having seeded an entire podcast episode. But if the Basic Plus is not for you, there's also the Basic membership, which is only $89 a year. Head to blackbirdpodcast.com/classroom to sign up today. Thanks a lot. And here is my interview with Josh Smith. All right, Josh Smith, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on, James. I really appreciate it, man. Hey, before we get started, I just wanted to say, I wanted to give you a huge shout out. Last year, when I was running for chairman of the Libertarian Party, I asked a lot of my supporters to give me these really great videos because I made this awesome montage video. And yours was one of the most impassioned and like emotional speeches that I received. And it's like still stands out in my head to this day, man. So I just really wanted to tell you how much I appreciate it. It was really great.
Dude, thanks a lot. I put a lot of thought into that too. Plus, it was the first time I'd ever been like talking to a camera without,
Sure.
someone on the other side of the camera. So I was super nervous. So I'm glad it turned out all right. So you said that you ran for LNC chair. You've done that a couple of times. Why don't you give kind of a little bit more about yourself for the audience?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a staunch anti-war activist. That's really what brought me to libertarianism. I've told this story a bunch of times on podcasts. Mm-hmm. It's not super boring, but I joined the military right after 9/11. I was on the USS Constellation in the middle of the Persian Gulf when George Bush declared war in Iraq. I spent lots of months in the middle of the ocean there at war with Iraq. We were running like 36-hour flight ops, dropping 100 million tons of ordnance on Baghdad. And it really jaded me on the military industrial complex and our just egregious foreign policy. And I was 18, 19 years old. I didn't know. I had no idea what was going on prior to this, So when I got back, I was kind of just disgusted with the Republicans because they were, blood-soaked warmongers. And we were kind of going into that John McCain era, and the Democrats certainly weren't any better when it came to wars. And so I just kind of felt politically homeless. I was still a registered Republican. I had been like a kind of a neocon, even maybe theocrat at one point prior to this. I started kind of falling away from religion there for a while. And then I found Ron Paul in 2007. Like many people my age will give you the same story. This man was speaking on TV, and it was almost like he was speaking directly to my soul. I was like, I wanted to end the wars. I wanted to end crony capitalism. I wanted to bring back free markets. And, I listened to that speech about, the CCP coming and setting up in Texas and how would you feel? And it was just like, wow, this man is right. almost all the time. I mean, 99.9% of the time, this man is right. And so I worked on Ron Paul's campaign in 2008. And then again in 2012, I was stumping for Ron Paul. That's when I joined the Libertarian Party in 2010 after what they did to Ron Paul in 2008. But as a Libertarian, I wasn't going to vote for Gary Johnson in 2012, although he was a decent candidate in 2012. I wanted Ron Paul, and so worked for Ron Paul again. And then, when that kind of fell apart, I was just like, oh, I think I'm going to try this Libertarian Party thing. I don't know. Stayed a registered Libertarian Party voter ever since 2010. And then in 2016, when that rolled around, I was watching the shit show, as most of us were. And I was like, man, I'm not voting for the reality guy. Definitely not voting for the warmonger, Hillary Clinton, who, just saying that may get me killed. And so I started kind of looking in again at the Libertarian Party, and I was living in Southern Washington at the time, and decided I would try to work for the party. So I went up to the Libertarian Party of Washington State Convention that year, and I was the only one who showed up from my region, literally. And I had no idea what it meant to work for a political party. I'd worked on campaigns, but I had never worked for a political party. And I showed up. I was a Region 5 guy, and that's Southern Washington, so right across the bridge from Portland, Oregon. They were doing elections for party officers and stuff. And they're like, who is here from Region 5? And I'm like, raise my hand and look around the room. And I'm like, oh shit. And they're like, great, you're the Region 5 representative. And I'm like, oh, okay. Anyone want to tell me what that means?
Yeah.
What do I do,
That's one of my favorite jokes about the LP is like you show up for a meeting and end up with a job.
Yeah. Well, and I also once got elected treasurer of a county party by going to the bathroom. So suck on that one, Nick Sarwark.
That's even better than losing to Noda.
Yeah, exactly. Suck on that one, Sarwark. I became the Region 5 rep, and I went back down to my region. I had been going to the county meetings for Clark County, but there was 5 counties in Region 5, and we only had one county party. And so I was tasked with trying to build county affiliates. And so I really started putting in the effort. I learned how to write constitutions. I learned how to write bylaws. I learned how to write, I worked on a policy manual, and I started going to these counties and like trying to recruit people and trying to get, hey, do you know about the Libertarian Party? Would you like to start a Libertarian Party in your county? We ended up getting a city council member elected in one of the counties even.
Nice.
Yeah. In Pacific County, which is right on the coast, a really small little coastal town. And so, and then I worked on the Gary Johnson campaign there, obviously as a party member and party officer. And that was around the time when I first started kind of paying attention to Nick Sarwark, and I was like, oh, this guy's pretty cool, man. He's brash. He stood up and gave that, your tears are delicious and your parties will die speech. And I was like, man, that's a cool speech. This guy's awesome. I love this guy, and then the weasels started coming out, and like we all saw him start attacking Tom Woods right away. And he's going after Dave Smith and Eric July and Ron Paul. I mean, like anybody who attacks Papa Paul is just a coward in my eyes. And so, So I started calling around bigger name libertarians. We had started this publication called Think Liberty that was pretty successful. We probably had 12,000 daily members and listeners and readers. And so I started calling some of the bigger name libertarians. I think I even called Larry Sharp and some others. It's like, yo, you got to run for chair. Someone got to run for chair against this guy. This isn't good. This isn't a good thing for the party, And everyone's like, man, you're crazy. You are insane. That is the most popular chairman this party has had in 50 years, blah, 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 blah. He's a trial lawyer, blah, 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 blah. And I just kind of realized that everyone was too afraid to do it, man. And so for the people who have gotten to know me over the last 4 years, everyone knows I'm not afraid of anything. And so, as the very knowledgeable Region 5 rep from Washington State and / maintenance man that I was, I decided to write up a candidate statement, an intent to run statement. And I was going to buy, my plan was put it out from Think Liberty. It'll be a challenge to the elites of the Libertarian Party. It'll never go anywhere. Nothing's probably ever going to happen. But at least I did the challenge, at least I put it out and I said, this is what's wrong with the party. This is how we're going to fix the party. I'm building a blueprint. I had no idea what I was talking about at the time. None, zero, and so we put it out. And it blew up, man. This was right around the time the Mises Caucus was starting. I got into a conversation with Michael Heiss. I'm like, yo, look, I'm a Mises libertarian. Rothbard is the one who opened the window I couldn't close. I'm a big fan of Mises and Lou and Tom and all these people. And I would love to have your guys' support. And at the time, there was like 50 people in the YouTube or in the Facebook group. I mean, it was just starting out, James.
I know. I was one of them. Actually, yeah. I was on the phone with Jeff Douglas today. He's like the political director or something like that for the Mises Caucus. He was telling me his side of this story that you're telling right now. I didn't know you were going to tell this tonight. Yeah. But he and Michael Heiss were on a road trip. They were going from Philly to like Colorado or somewhere. Sure. And they were trying to recruit a chair candidate. And Heiss was like, no, we got to get Ron Paul to run for chair. And Ron Paul's not going to run for chair. He's like, or Tom Woods or somebody like that. And Jeff was like, I kind of like this Josh Smith guy, man. He's fiery.
Yeah. Well, and I'm like spamming the group every day. Every day. I'm like, all right, guys, I'm a chair candidate. I love this caucus. I want to, little did I know that for 4 years, post this incident, I would be carrying that caucus target on my back for 4 years around the country as I traveled. So I never thought it would do anything, but I got in with the Mises Caucus. Right at that time, the Mises Caucus started kind of taking off. We started really doing some recruiting. We started working on this blockchain committee thing for that we were going to propose to the party, it was cool. And then we started raising money, man. And I raised I want to say like $15,000, dude. And I traveled to 25 states. I ended up keynoting the ballroom at the Omaha Roads to Freedom Unconvention right behind Ron Paul, which was like, wow. I'm just like, I had a 45-minute speech in a ballroom and I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing here. How did this happen? And so and I was like up all night the night before, like writing out my speech, like, oh my God, I'm right behind Ron Paul. What do I do? And so it really turned into this movement, man, and to this day, we got people in like the Fakertarians groups and stuff. And they're like, oh, you're a 3-time chair loser. And I'm like, dude, I didn't have to win. That was never the end goal of me running for chair. Like I wanted, these are wars in a battle or battles in a war. Right. And I wanted to win those battles. Of course, it would have put us in a much higher, what's the word I'm looking for here? It would have given us the upper hand, right? Yeah. Had I won these battles. But I never had to win the battles to win this war. It was all about moving the Overton window in the party, getting back to those first principles, that thin libertarianism, bringing people to the party, getting people excited like they were during the Ron Paul Revolution, making this cohesive movement of people. And just running for chair started accomplishing that in 2018. I lost handedly to Nick Sarwark, but I ended up on the national board. And now I was a staunch voice for that section of the party on the national committee. And I promised everybody I would get to work, and I would stand for our principles on every vote, on every movement, on every motion. That's what I was going to do. And I did. I stayed true to that. And then coming up on 2020, I saw a chance. I was much more well known. Obviously, I had a much bigger following. I traveled around the country and shook a bunch of hands. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do it one more time. No one was stepping up to do it. I knew that Joe Bishop Henchman was probably going to run, and I had been served on the board with the guy for 2 years. And as nice as the guy is, I mean, Joe Bishop Henchman is as nice as pie, man. Like he is. So our first LNC meeting after Joe Bishop Henchman won, he went around the room and asked us all to introduce ourselves and tell him our favorite snack, right? And he's, over there. Joe Bishop Henchman is always writing. If you've ever seen him, even at conventions, he's sitting in the corner writing. I mean, he's just always writing. So we went around the room. We told him our names, where we're from, how long we've been on the board, all this shit. And then we ended with what's our favorite snack. Of course, for me, it's strawberry ice cream. If anybody knows me and you meet me in public, bring me strawberry ice cream. It's my favorite snack. I love it. Okay. So at our last LNC meeting in Chicago, just a couple weeks ago, We all go out for a break and we come back in and everybody's favorite snack is sitting at their place on the table. Like Joe was a nice guy.
That's so nice.
Joe and Ethan they're wonderful people. Ethan, his husband, crocheted a baby blanket and sent the most heartfelt, sweetest note I've ever seen in my life to our house when our baby was born. Like they're nice people. They're godly, nice people. But he was a snake when it came to running the party, you know? And so I didn't want that. It wasn't the direction I wanted to see the party. I knew it wasn't the direction that the Mises caucus wanted to see the party go. I thought it was going to be a step backwards for the party. And so I decided to run again, and we did much better. Obviously, that you were there, you know, you saw it all happen. And
yep.
That national convention is always going to have an asterisk next to it for me. I lost by about 100 votes. I'm not sure they got that extra 100 votes. I'm thinking that there was some phony stuff at play, but I didn't want to be the Trump of the Libertarian Party and be like, stop, strip the steal. You know, I wanted to be like, okay, well, you know, whatever, that's cool. But if you were there, if you were at the convention, you know that we had the room. There was no doubt about it. We had the room. We probably had 85% of that damn room. You know what I mean? We won California. We won Florida. We won a ton of states. I didn't think we'd win, like Connecticut and Maryland. And I think Minnesota was even really close too. It was close.
Yeah, it was close. I don't remember what the like totals were.
Which was really surprising to me too. I didn't think that we would take Minnesota like that. And
we've got a pretty good bunch here. I'm sitting on our board right now. There's a couple.
I'm proud of Minnesota, man. Well, and I've always liked a lot of the people from Minnesota. Even your chair, who can be a giant asshole sometimes.
Well, he hates national. That's the thing.
Yeah, like, he's like
national. The only job of national is to give us a presidential candidate.
But I have hung out with him several times. I went to dinner with him in Louisiana before the national convention in New Orleans.
Oh, sweet.
Man, he was just a really awesome, cool guy to me. Even if he didn't support me for chair, I don't care. Like, you know, I'm not one of those guys that's like, if you don't support me for chair, fuck you. You know, I was like, I understand that you don't support me. Here's the reasons why I wish you would support me. As long as you're not a slandering, slimy asshole, like that doesn't bother me that you don't support me for chair. I get it. Everybody's got their own version of what they want for the party. But if you're a nice person and you're jovial and you're easy to get along with and you're not like, you know, telling lies about my family one after another, like I'm gonna be cool with you. And like Matt Kowalski has been like one of the coolest people to me. The whole time I've been in this party, he's been just absolute stellar, wonderful person to me. And he works his ass off too, you know? So it doesn't matter if you support me or not. What I care about is, are you working towards the principles of this party? Are you working towards making a more free society? And are you not a piece of shit, you know? And so, but yeah, I will always look at the 2020 convention and wonder, because all the motions prior to the chair election were about 650 votes. And then the chair election was over 900. And a lot of those came online. And when we asked for a quorum count, head count, we didn't get the answers that we wanted, you know. And so, you know, and there's other things that led me to believe that too. The Karen Ann Harlos vote right after that, when she won really handedly, Nick immediately ran up to a microphone and started protesting because I'm sure he thought that they had stolen enough votes to beat her. And if you watch, there's video of it, but I saw it live. Nick runs up to the microphone, starts protesting. Yeah. Evan McMahon, who was running against her, runs right up to Nick. They start whispering to each other. Evan runs up on stage, concedes, shakes Karen's hand, and runs off, and they never talk about it again. I mean, why would you do that? Unless you thought you had this in the bag, you know what I mean? And then all the votes after the officer elections went back to being about 650 votes per motion. So it's like, yeah, I think there was some shady shit that went on.
Well, we got less than a year till 22. So are you going to be running for at-large again?
Yes. I announced I was run for at-large. Some things have come to light over the last couple of months. Couple of weeks even during this New Hampshire thing. And it's really kind of laid a different framework for as far as probably what the caucus was going to do and what I was going to do. So now there's a chance that I may run for Region 6.
Oh. Well, I hate to get too into like inside baseball LP stuff because like I think most of my listeners are libertarians, but they're not mostly LP. But yeah, I think the Region 6 thing would be welcome.
Either that, but I'd be contending with a couple of states that don't really support me, which is going to be hard. Or there may be an opening to run for the old vice chair there with Angela McArdle. So
cool.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think there's going to be a lot of talks going on over the next year. But for sure, guaranteed, I will at least reseek my at-large seat. I think I was just gonna hang it up, call it good. I did 2 terms. We built the movement where I want to see it. We got Prague's disbanding, Prague's leaving the LNC. It's clear that we're winning. But I think that they need one more term of my leadership.
I read Andy Craig's resignation from the party letter. And I actually felt a little bit sorry for him. Like, the thing is, he didn't discover libertarianism from like a true blue libertarian like Ron Paul. No. He cut his teeth on the Gary Johnson campaigns. And the thing is, Gary Johnson's a great dude and he has some really good instincts. But at the end of the day, he's a centrist Republican.
He knew nothing about libertarianism.
Yeah.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Exactly. He's an entrepreneur, which gives him some libertarian instincts. Sure. But you're, working on his campaign as Andy Craig, if that's who you're learning libertarianism from, then you're not learning libertarianism as an ism. So you're going to be shocked and surprised by a lot of what you hear coming from libertarians.
Sure. Well, and I had this conversation with Tom Woods on his show recently. Gary was on some news channel and they're like, well, how'd you become a libertarian? And Gary actually made up a book.
Did he really?
Yeah. There is no book that exists that he mentioned. It doesn't exist. It was the how I became a libertarian or something is what he said. And it's that doesn't exist. That's not a thing. He it completely created that for the on the spot media. And so, it is unfortunate, but that's no excuse for people like Andy Craig who have had all this time to study. They write for the Cato Institute. And you still haven't come to terms with the fact that what you're spewing is probably not mostly libertarian. That's on you at this point, So
another thing that was going on with you last year during your chair run was a lot of people were talking about your fitness to be a father and some shady shit with one of your daughters and a lot of other stuff. And now you're sitting here with, what is it, 900 kids?
700
kids. Okay.
700. Yeah.
I mean, what happened what happened then? Why were you being slandered so hard? And how did you end up with all these kids?
Whoo, doggy.
Because this seems like a redemption arc to me. This is your hero's journey.
It is kind of, and people are still calling me the same old shit. They don't care. They never cared about, who they...
Oh, yeah. You were on that Fairtarians, that stream the other night. They were calling you child support payer. As if that's a dig. Yes, he's a good father. What do you want? Him not to pay his child support?
So here's the thing. I had 2 kids going into my 2018 election. One who had not lived with me for a long time. Some really bad stuff had happened where my daughter's mother disappeared with her for about 5 years. It was very, very rough time in my life, going from having a 4-year-old daughter that you talk to all the time and fly back and forth and see, and then all of a sudden just disappearing. And then we had reconnected when she was about 12, really started reconnecting, talking a lot. We started talking a little bit before that, but, and it was really intermittent. And then I had another son who lived in Oregon. And I had been in a really nasty custody battle for my son. It just was very, very ugly. His mother has a lot of problems. I'll leave it at that. Of course, there's always 2 sides to every story. So, you have to take what you believe and not. Essentially, I got raked over the coals in the child support department. At one point, they were requiring that I pay $1,269 a month. While I was in college, I was making $942 every 2 weeks. They were taking half of that and then leaving me with $942 a month to try and live off of while I was in college. I lost a job over it. For a while, I wasn't able to pay. I got really behind on child support. Then she, after a while, when he was about 2, she just stopped letting me see him. In direct violation of the court-ordered parenting plan. And then so I told her, well, I'm not going to pay child support anymore until you let me see him, which you can't do, by the way. About 3 or 4 months of that went by, and then the court was like, okay, look, this is the deal. You're going to get slapped with a contempt case if you don't start paying this. And so I started paying it again voluntarily. I think I had to pay it for like 6 months before they would drop that charge. And it's just been really, really ugly. And so when I started running for chair, I was obviously more self-sufficient. Everything was much better. I had a good job. I was paying all my child support, but I had been behind on child support. And my son's mother does not like me. I have emails, screenshots of her saying she wants to pin me to the wall and ruin my entire life and all this stuff. Right. And so she uses our child as a weapon to do so. She meandered into some libertarian groups while I was running and started messaging the people who hated me already, Nick Sarwark fans and stuff. And so she turned this whole group of people into believing that I was this deadbeat dad and that I had abandoned her and him and all this stuff. And it was like, couldn't be further from the truth. Like that was literally not the truth at all. And if any of those people had, ventured back on my Facebook page at the time, they would have seen all the pictures of me and my son. You know what I mean? It wasn't Yeah. And so, so that was all going on. And at the time I had been paying child support for a long time already. And I was like catching up and I was really well behind. And then in 2020, I had got caught up quite a bit. I had paid off like over half of what I had in arrears. This thing with my daughter was like really intermittent. We would talk sometimes we wouldn't talk for a month. It was just kind of hard on me and I'm sure hard on her. And, I found out that they were living in a really bad situation, drugs going on, living in cars, hotels, stuff like that. And I really didn't have a lot of recourse from our custody agreement. It was kind of like, if I was going to do anything, I was going to have to go to Arkansas and start a case there and like try to fight in Arkansas. And so it was really hard. I had tried to do what I could over the years, but it was just, at one point I had to hire a private detective because they had disappeared for several years. And so when I was running for this 2020 campaign, those same detractors, and I'm not afraid to name names, Angela Fisher Owens and Ethan Owens and Risa and, the Botkins, Liz and all these people, the only reason they were able to find out who my daughter was because when Risa and I dated briefly in Texas, I took Risa to meet my daughter. So they reached out to her, found out she was in a rough position and started trying to use her to harm me. And that's what they did, and it wasn't even 6 months later I had custody of her. And so this is how the story ends. Okay. For me, this is how the story ends. They can continue to say whatever they want, believe whatever you want. I don't give a shit. In March, my fiance who lives here in Iowa, where I live now, COVID was hitting. I had already been to like 12 state conventions. She came and met me in Illinois. I was the keynote speaker at the Illinois State Convention. Spent the weekend there with her, flew home, and all conventions got cut off after that. There was no more conventions. California was getting ready to go into a 24-hour lockdown. I had gotten sick. I was a little sick. I had a headache and stuffy nose and stuff, and I was working in skilled nursing facilities. And they're like, you can't come to work. This is in California at a time where they're only testing 500 people a week or something like that. It was insane. It was such a low amount. And they were only testing you if you were like dying, basically. And so I called them and I was like, look, they're not going to give me a test. I can't just miss work. Like I need to get paid. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're like, they're sorry, you can't come back until you test positive or test negative. And so one day goes by and I come to the realization that there's nothing I'm going to be able to do. I'm not going to be able to get a test. So I call my work and I'm like, look, well, I'm taking off for a couple of weeks. You guys are going to have to, find a new maintenance director or whatever. And so I call my girlfriend at the time and I'm like, look, I'm going to come back to Iowa and quarantine with you for 2 weeks. I got all these airplane tickets that I can't use, And so I was living with my best friend, bachelor, in a 3-bedroom home in California. And I flew out here and I was going to stay here 2 weeks. And we hit it off, and I was like, I might just stay in Iowa. I kind of like it here. It's cheaper. Let me see if I can find a job. And I found a job within like 3 weeks of living here. Really good job, very high paying. And then she got pregnant in April. And that was all she wrote. I was like, well, I got a baby on the way. I'm going to stay here. I'm in love with this woman. She already had 2 kids. And obviously I had 2 kids that didn't live with me. And so we got pregnant, and then October rolls around. So July is when they used my daughter to hurt me. October is when I got custody. Okay. I mean, it was just a couple months later. So it wasn't like, these people are fucking idiots. Let's be honest. And so I get the call. I go down to Arkansas to pick up my daughter. On the way down there, we find out she's pregnant. She also had 2 younger siblings that were going to go to the system. They're my ex-wives. They're my ex-wives, not mine. And so I worked with a lawyer down there, and we were able to get what's called kinship guardianship of the 2 littles. And so we took my daughter and the 2 littles and brought them back up to Iowa and bought a bigger house and all this stuff. And then we had my son on New Year's Eve, and my granddaughter was born March 14th. So that put 7 in the house.
Jeez.
All in 1 year, buddy.
So, yeah, I mean, that's rough. That's tough. That's, it's got to be hard at times, but like, what a blessing, man.
Extremely challenging. It's the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life. And I've done a lot of shit. But yeah, it's also a blessing, but there's some days that you want to rip your hair out, but that's all parents. That's how it works.
Coming from a Catholic upbringing, but like, kind of a normie Catholic upbringing. Like we only had 3 kids, but my
that's
parents
a small
both,
Catholic family.
I know my parents both had a ton of siblings, and like, I mean, it's cool to see. And especially right now, my story, I went from like a normie Catholic Republican family to anti-war left. So we're roughly the same age. Like I was born in December 82. I think you're right around
March 83. So 4 months later. Yeah. 3 months later. Yeah.
So while you were in the Army, I was like literally writing articles about why we shouldn't support the troops.
Nice.
And then Howard Dean happened, and I was an anti-war Democrat. And then somehow I don't remember like what the steps were here, but I ended up like in radical traditionalist Catholicism. And so I've held on to that. Like,
shit.
I know. And then I came out as gay and like became like just completely active in that whole thing after I found libertarianism. So I guess Ron Paul probably damned my soul, but at least he made my life a little bit better. But I still have that affection for like the sort of Catholic family values and that kind of thing. And I think, I think Catholic theology is beautiful. Like,
I grew up, my mom's side of the family is Spanish Catholic, Italian Catholic, and my dad's side of the family is Israeli Jews. So very strange. I'm a Catholic Jew, but.
Well, you're also a Nazi. Let's not forget. You're my very favorite Nazi Jewish journalist now.
Yeah, you always gotta love it. Yeah, I'm a journalist now. That was great. I was like, look, you guys have said a lot of really vile shit, but that's the most vile, calling me a journalist. How dare you?
I'm gonna have to link to that. It's like 3.5 hours long, y'all. But first of all, you get to skip the first hour before
the first
Nick
hour
Ashley,
is so boring.
Nick has been on the show, and actually, I asked if he wanted to come on tonight. And then I think I dropped the conversation, but that's all right. We're good. We can handle this. You guys were on the Fakertarians the other night, and holy crap, it's really hard to watch. Like it's just like 7 people talking over each other most of the time.
Screeching.
Yeah.
Like absolute screeching.
Yeah. It's like, so you've got Karen Ann, not Harlos.
Yeah, his name's actually Christopher Alderson. Sorry to dead name you, buddy, but he runs the Leading Liberty the Leading Liberty Facebook page, and that dude has attacked my family so much. Fuck him,
man. And I don't know if he/they uses they them pronouns, and
I don't think he really does. I think that's a complete play because he's like married to a woman and like doesn't look like that in real life at all. I think that's totally a play for him.
Man, if it is, that's low. Like I've got non-binary friends. Like I understand what they go through, and like. And I try to defend that whole gender spectrum thing in our circles because we have a lot of social conservatives,
sure,
who just like they can't grasp the idea that there's non-binary gender identity. Like they can get bisexuality, but not non-binary gender.
Yeah,
yet.
the non-binary thing's always been hard for me too. I'm not gonna lie.
And it is. I mean, I don't understand it either, really.
It's just hard to grasp. I don't give a shit. Like I'm not one of those people. It's like I'm not like some of the people, even the people who follow me, who are like, you're just feeding into their mental disorder. I don't give a shit, man. We feed into everyone's mental disorders every day. It's how it's welcome to America. You know what I mean?
So let's switch gears because we've only got, I guess, a few minutes left. But first of all, what is your definition of shit posting?
Oh, man. There's so many different definitions.
I
know. Listen, shit posting to me is one, saying things sometimes maybe you don't believe in just to get a reaction. Sometimes there's shit posting like neocon remover where it's like just hilarious words put together. Like, I don't know if you follow neocon remover or Burt Grimm. He just like will make these posts that are like Coca-Cola beat Hillary Clinton in a two-way race for who gets the biggest wiener competition, or you know what I mean? Like just random ass posts like that. And you're like, what the fuck? That's hilarious. And it's meant to be funny. It's meant to many times be offensive. And get a rise out of people. I mean, it really is. And, I'm a big fan of trolling. I've been very open with the fact that I've trolled people into liberty several times. So, and shit posting's just one of those trolls.
So that was going to be my next question. Like, what's the strategy there? How does that work?
So, believe it or not, before I ever ran for chair, when I first was getting involved with the Libertarian Party for the second time in 2016, we had a crew of people in a secret group on Facebook called the Libertarian Troll Mercenaries. And a lot of these trolls that you see today started there. A lot of the people who were involved in Think Liberty started there. Great people like Chris Oglesby and Vinnie Marshall, and who's been one of my best friends since we were in grade school almost. Just great people who do this stuff now, still to this day. And this was during Hillary versus Trump, and we would go into these Hillary versus Trump or Hillary and Trump Facebook groups. And sometimes with sock accounts, I want everyone to know that I have always shit posted from my personal account because I am a G like that. I don't care. And we would do crazy shit in these groups. Like this was back when you could make a post and we'd make a post in the group, like drop a one in the comments if you believe America's a Christian nation or whatever, in like the Trump groups, or if you believe you should have your ass stomped for burning the flag. And then they just start dropping all these ones, or hell yeah. We'd tell them to say hell yeah, and there'd be all these hell yeahs, and then we'd switch it up to be like, if you think transgender bathrooms are a good thing, or just stupid shit like that. And it would piss people off to the max. And they'd start screeching at us, this is what it said earlier. And there'd be like, 1,000 hell yeahs in the comments. And they'd be like, if you're cool with guys using the women's bathroom or something, you know what I mean? Just dumb shit. And then we'd get into these conversations with people. And I'd be like, have you guys ever heard about, Murray Rothbard? Have you ever heard about this? And we would literally start getting people on our side. It was all the time. Like, that's literally what we did. That was our, like, when we weren't working or with our girlfriends or whatever, like that's, and I know girlfriends and shit posters doesn't really mix, but there are a few of us.
At least you're in a basement right now. So
yeah, significant. I am. Yeah, but this is my goddamn basement that I pay for. Okay. Just for all the haters out there. Yeah. This is my basement that I pay for. Sole provider. And so it really became like this thing where we were kind of starting this movement by trolling people and shit posting in these groups. And it bled out, all over the place. And it really, even before the Troll Mercenaries, it started in the Gary Johnson 2016 page. There was like a Facebook group that had 100,000 people in it or something.
Jesus.
Yeah. And it was like a group of us from there that started it. And we used to do it in the Gary Johnson page, and then we bled out. And then now people are all over Twitter and fucking Parler and Facebook. And, I'm sure some of these weirdos are on MySpace because they're kicked off of everything else. And it really became like a movement, and there was like a camaraderie there. Right. And so like we were getting people who were coming over from the left. We were getting people who were coming over from fascists. We were getting people who were coming from social conservatives, just all kinds of different people coming together. And the movement started turning into this libertarian camaraderie, and some of those people to this day are hardcore. I know people who are working inside the Libertarian Party that came from the left. I know people are working inside the anarchist movement right now that came from the Republican Party, and it was all because of this trolling shit posting that we were doing. And so when I say that, on like my opening for the after hour streams or in my promo for the show, Break the Cycle, I mean that. Like I have created so many libertarians by trolling them that it's just wild. It's wild to me to even think about.
What do you think about the big conflicts right now between like the Agorists, the LP Mises Caucus people, the Tho Bishop people, and maybe like the quote post-libertarians?
I think it's fucking great, to be honest with you. I know a lot of people are like really upset, except for Vin Armani. I can't stand that guy. What a condescending prick. But like all of them, I mean, they're all great in their own way. And I've talked about libertarianism being a several-headed beast. It's not just the party. I mean, the party is a very small portion of this much broader, larger movement. And if you want to talk about all the heads, there's agorism. That's an important aspect of libertarianism. Opting out of the fucking system and telling them to suck your dick is an important thing. You know what I mean? And I mean that. I'm sorry if kids listen to your podcast. I apologize. It's an important aspect of libertarianism because we have to be defiant to politics at some point, or politicians at least, or their bad laws. And, we have to tell them to get fucked. And so agorism is one way to do that. Bitcoin is another head for me. I think the crypto movement, especially Bitcoin, should always be the biggest part of your portfolio. Is going to, and that's not financial advice, SEC, kiss my ass. That's another way to say, hey, we're now dealing in a decentralized currency that circumvents the federal government, and we're not going to deal with you anymore. We don't need your fiat notes. Keep printing them all you want. That's as worthless as monopoly money to me. That's an important step. Another important step can be using the political process to take them down from the inside. And I think the Libertarian Party is becoming a vehicle for that. I think it took 51 years or 50 years for us to start getting there, but I think we are now legitimately becoming, because of people like Dave Smith and Tom Woods and the Mises Caucus and all these great activists, we're now becoming a political force to reckon with. I think it's not going to be a year, it's not going to be 5 years, it's probably going to be 10 years. I have a 10-year plan. The Libertarian Party is going to be a major party in this country. Republicans and Democrats are going to start having their seats threatened. No more will they feel comfortable in Congress for 6 decades or whatever. They're going to say, hey, those libertarians, man, they got a lot of support now. And we have to start governing like we campaign, or we're going to lose our seats to this yellow menace. And so I think that's another important tool in the toolbox. I've talked about it that way a lot. I think if you're a mechanic and you have a really bad problem and you have 3 tools that can solve the problem and you use 2 of them, the problem's not solved. But if you use the 3rd one, maybe together, like Captain America or Captain Planet, with our powers combined, we can get this thing done. And so, I reckon as a mechanic, you probably want to use every tool in the toolbox to get the problem fixed. And I just see them all as different tools. Mm-hmm. And I think the arguments are good because it's really refining the ideas. That's what arguments are. At the end of the day, a debate is refining the ideas. It's the marketplace of ideas. And maybe we come to rest on agorism's the only way to move the shit forward. Maybe we all come to rest on, hey, all 3 of these things are great tools, but it's stupid to not use all the tools at your disposal. Mm-hmm. And so as long as you're not telling me don't use any of the tools, I'm good with it. I think though Bishop libertarianism is probably going to be very helpful when it comes to getting more liberty Republicans elected. I love it.
And especially in red states and red areas.
Sure. I love Tho, man. Tho gets a bad rap from some libertarians. Tho is probably one of my favorite people in the movement, even though he tells me to leave the Libertarian Party all the time. He's like, you're going to do a lot better over here with us and the Republicans. Yeah, probably, bud. But I got a goal here, and as long as I think that it's a valuable goal for me, I'm going to keep doing it. I love agorists and people who are turning, even some of the really black-pilled people. I think they're great, and like Larkin Rose. I had a 2.5 hour debate with Larkin Rose on Anarchcast during Anarchapulco. And, it was almost hard to debate with him because I agree with everything he's saying.
What was the debate? That's awesome.
Libertarian Party versus anarchism, you know what I mean? Opt out of anarchism, basically, and the utility of it. And I think I won the debate. Most people told me I won the debate. I made a really good case for why it's okay to work inside the political system.
Is that on YouTube or anything? I love Larkin Rose.
Yeah, it's on Anarchast. It was hosted by Patrick Smith, good friend of mine who runs Anarchast and Disenthrall Media, one of the greatest dudes I know in this world.
All right, cool. It's on BitChute. I found it. I'll put the link in the show notes.
Yeah, it was a good debate. And you know, I was drinking whiskey during it, but a lot of people did tell me that they think I won, even anarchists and agorists alike, like Jose Galson. He told me you won that debate, even though he likes Larkin Rose more when it comes to ideas. He's like, you definitely won the debate. I kind of worked really hard for about an hour to paint Larkin Rose into a corner that I think he got a little hypocritical when he was trying to make the argument. You guys can judge for yourself and watch the debate. It was a great debate. I mean, it was very respectful. I love Larkin. You know, don't get me wrong. Candles in the Dark's a great thing. He's going around the country turning people into libertarians and teaching them how to opt out of the system. And The Most Dangerous Superstition is a great book. You know, you should read it. He's got
the Jones Plantation coming out on.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that
film
too.
Now.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Larkin. I am, and I'm a big fan of those guys. I think everybody's got their part to play, and you know, when it comes to fighting for liberty, we're such a minority. And you know, Jeremy Kaufman from Odyssey will say that libertarians are the biggest minority in this country because we're the furthest away from the society that we want. And it's like, you know, that's very jarring for people to hear. I mean,
you mean Jeremy Kaufman says jarring things?
It's very jarring to hear.
You know, when I found out that the person doing the LPNH Twitter stuff was someone named Jeremy Kaufman, I was like, that can't be the same Jeremy Kaufman as the library guy.
You're damn right it is. I was just like, yes, I love it.
That fucked me up. And like, I am such a huge fan of his now. Like,
he's so cool.
Like, I run the LP Minnesota Twitter, which I don't know if that's a secret or not. It's anonymous, but I've come out with it.
Well, that's why your Twitter's getting so much more base now. That's good. Yeah.
But like, I couldn't imagine doing some of the stuff that he said. That was
the Guantanamo Bay thing. I mean, we had a whole 20-minute conversation about it on the LNC at our LNC meeting in Chicago. I mean, it started out the LNC meeting that way. We had elected officials coming in all pissed off, and it's like, dude, it was Sasha Cohen, who's like on the city council of some podunk town in Illinois. Right. And he's like, I was an elected official. I'm like, your constituency's 5 people, dude. Shut up.
And he ran against a write-in candidate. He didn't even have like another person on the ballot.
Yeah, he was basically uncontested. There's like 5 constituents. He came from the Yang campaign to the Vermin Supreme campaign. It wasn't like, let's be honest, it wasn't like he invested a lot of time in the Libertarian Party or anything. And he's in there bitching, my constituents are asking me about this. No, they're fucking not. No, they're not. No podunk town in Illinois knows about the New Hampshire Libertarian Party. Fucking shut up. You're lying your ass off, dude. He got really pissed off at me on one of my shows when I had Jeremy Kaufman, and he popped into the chat and was talking shit. And I was like, dude, I was like, I just saw you a week and a half ago in Chicago and you wouldn't even look me in the eyes. Now you're talking shit in my chat on a show. What a bitch made move.
Don't sugarcoat, Josh.
Oh, I don't, buddy. Everyone knows.
Do you feel like people underestimate you because you don't sugarcoat?
Underestimate me?
Yeah. Do you think you're underestimated either potentially or intellectually or in any other way?
I think intellectually people really underestimate me. I think I get this, you're like a jock. What do they call me? Frat bro. Like, you're really stupid. You're like a big dumb meathead. And I'm like, motherfucker, I have read every philosophy book you could name. I've read Immanuel Kant. I have read Rothbard. I have read Bookchin. I have read, any political philosophy, Marx, Lenin, Engels. I've read all the shit that I hate. I read. Like, I know more than you. Fuck you. No, but it's true. It's true. Cause so I'm from the hood, man. Like I'm from Oakland, you know what I mean? Oakland, California. I'm from the hood. Like, I'm legit from the projects. And so I do kind of have that urban spirit, if you want to call it that. You know, when I first started running for chair in 2018, I had to start going to Toastmasters and shit. I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to speak. You know, I called everyone dude and bro, and I said hella. And like, I was legitimately worried I was going to go and give a speech and be like, listen, bros. You know what I mean? My nickname in high school was Dude Bro.
Oh my God.
That was literally my nickname in high school, because I'd walk up to people and be like, I was so fucking high in high school all the time, right? I was like a big stoner skateboarder, but I was also a jock. Like I wrestled and played football, but I'd walk up to people and I'd be so stoned at like lunch, off campus lunch. And I'd be like, dude, bro, man, bro, dude, bro, you don't even know, bro. And then I'd tell you what I had to say. And so my nickname became Dude Bro. So I get that there's like this aesthetic that I'm not smart, but you're really underestimating me if you think that I'm not smart. As proof on the new Fakertarians podcast, where I literally dunked on everybody repeatedly, even though sometimes I was, obviously a little frat bro about it. I knew the definition of populism. I don't know if you watched that part, but
I did.
Jeremy Kay's like, well, populism is when you do this and this and this. And I was like, read the third line. And he did. And I was like, yeah, that's what I've been saying the whole time. And it's true. I do research this shit. It's not like I'm just going to go out and say it, but I think a lot of people in this party and this movement underestimate what these hands can do. I think that's what I really get underestimated for.
Don't go threatening people, Josh.
I'm just saying, it was all these people talk shit to me before my 2018 campaign online. And then I showed up to the national convention and I saw a lot of shaking hands when I walked up to people, you know what I mean? Like legitimately, like hands shaking, like tremors. And it's because, first of all, they didn't realize how big I am. I'm not a little dude. I'm 6'2", 240 pounds. Second of all, I did MMA for 10 years. I wrestled for 14 years. Like I'm not the bitch you think I am, bud. So, I think I'm probably pretty heavily underestimated by, these kind of people that think they're smarter than they are, and these kind of people that really think they're tougher than they are because they've never left the internet. So,
yeah. And they're a bunch of weenie-tarians. That's a term I'm going to start coining.
Well, right. And I think the best phrase to sum all that up is, and it came directly from God King Michael Heiss. He said, I think I may fuck this up. I might be paraphrasing. I don't know, but he said, we are literally up against people who will napalm your children for resources. We don't need people who are offended by memes. We need soldiers. Mm. And that's true. I mean, and that will ring true for so long, because we're up against people who have killed hundreds and thousands of people for bullshit. So.
All right, let's leave it there. So I'm now supporting you in two places financially, Patreon and YouTube. And I think that it's well worth it. I mean, you're raising 7 kids. You're doing great work for this movement. And I want you to be able to do it full time eventually. So
I really appreciate that, man. It's probably going to take a lot for me to do it full time, but the show has pretty much doubled every month.
Yeah.
And so that's really, really big for me. The only goal at first was we wanted to make enough for Julia to stay home because we have 7 kids and I work full time. I work 12-hour shifts and it's really hard to leave all these kids. Just, they need someone here. And we've hit that initial goal. I have enough supporters now where Julia is able to stay home. We've made up that lost income. And that alone just means the fucking world to us, that I'm able to do the show and help pay for our life and these kids and give some kids that really needed a really good home. So, but yeah, man, I can't tell you how much it means to us. And I really appreciate you supporting like that. And, I understand if you can't always support in 2 places, dude, that's a big commitment. I feel
like it's worth it. I think, and audience, I'd appreciate all of my paid subscribers, but Josh is a real hero. I'm sitting here at a computer. So I'll definitely link to your Patreon. Is there anything else you want to plug?
Well, definitely just follow, subscribe to the YouTube, man, because even if you can't support financially, subscribing to the YouTube kicks up the algorithm, which gets us more views, which gets us more people who will support the show financially. So, the youtube.com/fightthedespots is the YouTube channel. And man, it really means a lot when we have a lot of people in the chats. I do shows 5 nights a week now, Monday through Friday. We've had some really great guests on, Dave Smith, Tom Woods, Scott Horton twice. I had Ron Coleman on tonight.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't even know him.
Yeah, he's big time a lawyer. He's actually he's the one that's representing Project Veritas and James Keefe right now. Conservative guy, probably supported Trump, all that stuff. But I mean, he's fighting for the right things. I don't agree with his stuff on trademark laws and all that shit, that he was his trademark attorney for a long time. But I've had Stefan Kinsella on, and I have some smaller names on too, like Davey Parrish from the Burning Boots, used to be Burning Boots Friendship Simulator now. Obviously, we just did that special show on Saturday with King Nick, which was a lot of fun. We slammed. I still got these 3 beer bottles because I slammed 3 Coronas during that show with him. I don't drink very often, but I was like, I got to fucking drink on this show with him. That was fun. So, doing a lot of shows, man. Just, at least 5 nights a week. We're booking up. August is booking up really fast. July is completely booked up. So follow the show. Of course, the podcast is in audio version on like all the podcast apps. Please, if you also have an Odyssey, follow me there, because eventually that's probably where I'm going to be streaming from when YouTube has had enough of me. Ron Coleman dropped the gamer word on my show tonight, so I got to go try to bleep that out.
What's the gamer word?
The N-word.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he did it in like an intellectual way.
Yeah.
He was talking about how trademark laws, they won't trademark offensive ethnic slurs.
I got it.
Yeah, and he's like, but it's really only because they don't want to trademark the word. And I'm like, whoa, he said it! Oh no!
Is that why? That's why the Papa John's CEO got let go by their board, right? He was like in his diversity training, like uttered the word as like a word that you don't say at work.
Yeah, like intellectually. Yeah. It wasn't even like it was like he didn't do it because he hated him, but yeah, it's crazy. So I gotta go like skim through that and try and bleep that out now. Like, thanks, Ron. But the after hour stream that I did right before I got in here, you should check that out. That was fun, because in the after hour stream we can basically talk about whatever we want, because members only, and YouTube doesn't really moderate it as much. And he talked about election fraud, man. There's a lot of crazy shit going on in this country right now. So yeah. Monica
Perez has been really covering that too.
I love her.
She's so great.
Yeah, she's been on my show too. She was fun.
Yeah, mine too. We had a lot of the same guests, actually. All right, cool. Well, we're going to be doing the Tower Power Hour podcast thing tomorrow night together too. So that will be actually a couple of days ago, by the time you're listening.
You're a brave gay, James. I love you to death.
I was on that show with Magnus Panvidia, and I was sick, and it was like 1,000 degrees in my office, and I feel like I just need to redeem myself because it was a terrible performance.
Yeah, and well, I'm just you're brave, man, because they don't hold shit back there, man.
No, they don't. I love it. It's so great. I love those guys, man.
Yeah. Right, cool. Wait, one more thing.
Yeah.
I honeypotted Tower Power Hour into becoming a podcast, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I told him I was going to do the show with him, and then I didn't go on a show until episode 16. I was like, yes, because I'm part of the Tower Gang, right? And I was in the Tower Gang chats and stuff. I was like, yeah, dude, we should totally start like a Legion of Skank style with like just all the shit posters and do like a podcast and call it Tower Power Hour. And yeah, that's cool. I'll do it all the time. And then every night they're like, hey, can you do the show tonight? I'm like, nah, man, I'm super busy with my show and shit. I'm really sorry. I'll do the next one, I promise. And then finally, episode 16, I came on.
Nice. Now Jose's doing that to him.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. Well, I'll link to everything. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you.
See you later. All right. Thanks again to Josh for joining me tonight. Thanks to you, as always, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I know that it was a little bit more heavy on the libertarian stuff than I like to get. But, every so often I like to let my hair down and just kind of have a chat with a friend. So if you did like it, great. If you didn't like it, well, stay tuned for the next one, because we're going to be talking to Matt Erickson and the return, once again, of LB Muniz, all about entrepreneurship and getting ahead in the world with or without politics. Don't forget to go to Liberty Classroom using my link, blackbirdpodcast.com/classroom. While you're at it, go to blackbirdpodcast.com to subscribe to the show, either for free or with one of the paid subscription options. And if you have a few minutes free, head to iTunes, leave me a rating and review. Every single one of those helps boost the algorithm so that more and more people find this podcast. And until the next episode of Blackbird, live free.